How many patients have you been able to cure so far?
I would say one.
How many people have I cured? Well, there are no real cures right now in psychiatry.
I don't know that any of us are ever completely cured of anything.
I have cured none of my patients.
You've got ADD, ADHD.
We don't know if I give you a medication if it is going to work or not.
Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil, Celexa. Usually propylene XR is pretty good.
They'll give you some Lexapro in the morning and some trazodone at night.
Lamictal is a better medication for that. It works on your depression.
Depakote, Wellbutrin,
Lexapro, Lamictal,
Equadroid,
Depakote,
lithium.
Imagine this. You're feeling down, overwhelmed, maybe even lost. You finally muster up the courage to see a doctor, and what's the first thing they suggest? Antidepressants. It sounds like a lifeline, an instant fix to make the darkness go away. But here's the thing. Antidepressants are not the magic pills they're often made out to be. They come with a complicated history, questionable research, and side effects no one talks about enough. Did you know that in the US alone, over 37 million people take antidepressants? That's nearly 1 in 10 Americans. And yet, despite being so widely used, the conversation around these drugs is incomplete, often misleading. Let's start with the basics. What are antidepressants and why are they so popular? Most belong to a class of drugs called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Think Prozac, Zoloft, Lexapro, household names by now. These drugs were introduced in the late 1980s and quickly gained popularity because they were marketed as safer alternatives to older antidepressants. The theory is simple. Depression is caused by a chemical imbalance, specifically a lack of serotonin in the brain. SSRIs supposedly fix this by boosting serotonin levels. But here's the kicker. The chemical imbalance theory has never been definitively proven. In fact, many experts argue it's oversimplified, outdated, and frankly a marketing ploy to sell pills. Now let's talk about misuse. Antidepressants are often prescribed for mild to moderate depression, but many studies suggest they're most effective for severe cases. For mild depression, their benefits may be barely better than a placebo. Here's an example. Imagine someone goes to their doctor feeling stressed from work or a breakup. Instead of addressing the root causes like improving sleep, exercise, or therapy, they're handed a prescription for antidepressants. Over time, the person might feel better, but was it the drug, or did life circumstances improve? And what happens when they try to stop? Withdrawal symptoms like dizziness, fatigue, and brain zaps can make quitting incredibly difficult, keeping people trapped on these medications for years. Let's not ignore the role of Big Pharma in all of this. Pharmaceutical companies spend billions marketing antidepressants, often downplaying risks and overhyping benefits. Remember when SSRIs first hit the market? Advertisements showed smiling families, sunny parks, and promises of a better you. What they didn't show were the hidden risks. Take Paxil, for example. In the early 2000s, it was revealed that GlaxoSmithKline suppressed data showing that Paxil increased the risk of suicidal thoughts in teenagers. They marketed it as safe for all ages, despite knowing the truth. And that's not a one-off case. Manipulated clinical trials and selective data reporting are systemic problems in the pharmaceutical industry. Now let's dig into side effects. The most common ones, like nausea, insomnia, and weight gain, are well documented. But what about the lesser-known risks? For example, emotional blunting. Many users report feeling numb, unable to experience highs or lows. Then there's sexual dysfunction, which can persist even after stopping the medication. This condition, known as post-SSRI sexual dysfunction, PSSD, isn't just rare, it's massively underreported because many people don't realize it's tied to their medication. So, why do doctors keep prescribing them? One reason is time. Most primary care physicians spend just 13 to 16 minutes with a patient. There's rarely enough time to explore therapy or lifestyle changes. Writing a prescription is quicker. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Pharmaceutical reps actively target doctors, influencing what they prescribe. According to ProPublica, U.S. doctors received over $2 billion in payments from drug companies in 2022 alone. This cozy relationship creates a cycle where medications are pushed as the first solution, even when they're not always the best one. Let's take a moment to talk about the cultural impact. Antidepressants have become so normalized that many people don't even question taking them. Celebrities openly discuss their use, like Lady Gaga, who has spoken about taking medication for depression. While it's great that the stigma around mental health is decreasing, this normalization also glosses over the complexity of these drugs. For instance, think of the show Euphoria. The character Rue battles addiction, but the show also hints at how easily prescription meds can become a crutch. It's a stark reminder of how medication can be both helpful and harmful, depending on how it's used. Here's the million-dollar question. If antidepressants aren't the magic cure they're made out to be, what are the alternatives? For starters, therapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, has shown long-term benefits for many people with depression. Lifestyle changes like regular exercise, a balanced diet, and mindfulness practices can also make a huge difference. Take exercise, for example. Studies show that regular physical activity can be as effective as antidepressants for mild to moderate depression. Yet, how often do doctors prescribe a gym membership or a walking routine? It's easier to write a prescription and move on. This isn't about demonizing antidepressants. They have their place and have helped millions. But it's about being informed. If you or someone you love is considering antidepressants, ask questions. Is this the best option? Are there alternative treatments? What's the plan for eventually tapering off? Because here's the reality. The pharmaceutical industry isn't going to prioritize your well-being over their profits. It's up to us to advocate for ourselves and make informed choices. Depression is a complex, deeply personal journey, and no one-size-fits-all solution exists. So, where do we go from here? Start by questioning the narratives we've been sold. Demand transparency from pharmaceutical companies. Advocate for mental health resources that prioritize holistic care over quick fixes. And most importantly, remember, you're not alone. Depression can feel isolating, but there's help out there, whether through therapy, support groups, or even just talking to a trusted friend. The first step is understanding the system we're up against and making choices that serve our health, not corporate profits. We're building a community of free thinkers who question, learn, and break free from the system. If this video sparks something in you, help us make this community even stronger. Subscribe and be part of a movement that pushes for real change.